Nothing screams America like deep-fried food. Seriously, us Americans love to deep-fry anything and everything at state fairs, from fried butter in Iowa to fried beer in Texas. But what if I said you could even deep-fry water nowadays? You'll probably think I'm just having a laugh at you, but you'll be amazed to learn just how it's done. Not to mention what it tastes like. So stick around to find out, because I've got this and so much more coming up in today's episode of things you will see for the first time in your life. Not to get all existential or anything, but it's easy to forget just how tiny we are in the grand scheme of things. From where you're standing, the world around you might look peaceful and still, but day in, day out, the Earth is spinning around its own axis, making sunrises and sunsets a daily feature of life on our planet. But the thing is, it all happens on such a massive scale that we'll never be able to fully perceive it ourselves. So here's an idea of what it might look like if we could. This incredible footage is actually a stabilized time-lapse created by San Francisco-based photographer Eric Brummel at Crater Lake National Park in Oregon in July 2020. As you'll notice, the Milky Way, which is the constellation that contains our solar system, has been stabilized in the center of the night sky to allow us to visualize the Earth's rotation. The calmness of the water also acts as a mirror for the stars above, making the whole thing look even more trippy. But how does this sorcery work exactly? It all comes down to a nifty little piece of equipment called an equatorial mount. Put simply, an equatorial mount has one rotational axis parallel to the Earth's axis of rotation. This design allows the attached instrument, in this case Brummel's Sony A7S camera, to stay fixed on a celestial object while the equipment compensates for the Earth's rotation by rotating itself at the same speed, thus stabilizing its view of the sky. If you were wondering what this would look like if it was shot with a regular camera without this nifty piece of equipment, it might go a little something like this. Anyone else feeling a little dizzy after hearing all this talk of rotation? Why not take a moment to level your mind again by heading on over to those like and subscribe buttons and showing them some well-deserved love. In return, I'll be sure to send your brain into a spin with a whole host of weird and wonderful content, and you'll be the first to know about it. Now let's dive right back in. If I asked you what some of the rarest animals in the world are, what would you say? The Sumatran rhinoceros or the Amur leopard might spring to mind, but there are plenty of other creatures you'd be just as hard-pressed to catch sight of out and about, and one of them is a type of moose. You're probably thinking that moose are about as common as they come, but I'm not talking about just any kind of moose. This ultra-rare white moose was spotted taking a dip in a pool in Sweden's Värmland country in August 2017 by avid nature lover and politician Hans Nilsson. Was anyone else half expecting a unicorn to follow closely behind, surrounded by elves playing enchanting folk music? Or is that just me? But this creature is far from mythical. It's genetic. Despite its all-white velvet coating, the moose's unusual appearance does not result from albinism, a congenital condition that results in a loss of pigmentation, as you might expect. Albinism in animals and humans also usually causes lighter pinkish-colored eyes, but moose with bright white fur more commonly get their looks from a recessive gene that causes the animal to grow white with tiny specks of brown, a condition known as piebald. While these snow white moose are indeed ultra rare, a few sightings are still reported each year, although they are rarely captured on film quite like this. In fact, this clip earned Sweden's majestic white moose something of a celebrity status online. And just 2 months after the mystical moose video hit the web, police in Switzerland made the shocking decision to allow hunters to shoot it. But they quickly revoked their decision in part thanks to a petition created by Nilsson to save the moose. Apparently, no hunter in the area wanted to become known as the White Moose Killer. Gee, how kind. I hope this majestic moose is having a good day today, wherever he is. Nature is full of bizarre creatures that look like something pulled from the pages of a fairy tale. But what do you make of this interesting enigma? It's got the face of an owl, the antlers of a small deer, and the body and tail of a fox. But where would you possibly find a hybrid animal like this? Well, I hate to burst your bubble, but no such animal exists in real life. This creature is actually just an incredibly realistic doll created by Brooklyn-based artist Anya Baz. Anya creates all manners of otherworldly creatures, or room guardians, like this one, named the Grey Fawn, which she sells on Etsy and her website. She made her very first room guardian, named Caiaphas, as an experiment back in 2011, and by 2014 her creations had grown in popularity enough for her part-time passion to become a full-time business. Anya first coined the term room guardians after the idea that many cultures have lucky totems and other such items that watch over their homes. She believes that her creations can help protect your home from negative spirits and energies, or just help to ease stress, anxiety, and loneliness. Over the years, she has created a whole host of amazing creatures with horns, wings, talons, and other fantastical features. Each room guardian comes completely from her own imagination and evolves while Anya is in the process of making it. The dolls are made using chicken wire, faux fur, and card, among other materials, and each one is completely posable. I don't know about you, but I'd be completely fooled if I came across one of these creatures in the woods at night. If you consider yourself an internet veteran with a good memory for memes, you might recognize this little fella. What you probably don't know is that he's also a room guardian created by Anya Baz. She gained so much popularity from the viral meme back in 2016 that she has even recreated the creature using a mold from the original cat, which she sometimes auctions on eBay. A similar internet sensation is this adorably fuzzy little critter. But rather than being a viral meme, this lovable creature has been shared countless times online with the claim that it is a scarce white bat species. As great as that sounds, this little guy has never been spotted in the wild and likely never will, because he's made of felt, wire, and stuffing. Surprisingly, this isn't one of Anya Baz's creations. Instead, it's called the Baby Albino Vampire Plushie, which is sold at EliseShop.com. The existence of this particular bat might be just another lie spread by the internet, but there are a couple of similar creatures you can find in the wild. The first is the Honduran white bat, which is found in the rainforest of eastern Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and Panama. Sadly, this snowy white bat is classified as threatened by the IUCN Red List, which documents species vulnerable to extinction. The northern ghost bat is an equally rare bat species, which can be spotted in South America and the Caribbean. Looks like we need to start focusing less on stuffed animals and start protecting the real ones. Have you come across anything weird, wonderful, or downright amazing while surfing the web that you think should be shared with your fellow netizens? Then why not get in touch with us here at Be Amazed? Send any images or clips you find online to clips@beamazed.com, and you might even earn yourself a shout out if it gets featured in a future video. Now, where were we? When was the last time you got your hair cut? Unless you're planning on growing your hair long, most people should aim to get their hair cut every 6 to 8 weeks to maintain its length and style, not to mention keeping it healthy. But if you're planning on going as long as possible without getting a much needed trim, you should know that you've got tough competition from the man who went a whopping 50 years without getting his hair cut. For most of his life, Tran Van Hay from Vietnam kept his head hidden from view by covering it with a huge headscarf. He was so secretive about the bundle atop his head that locals didn't know exactly what he was concealing beneath it. It wasn't until his golden years, when Tran was 78 years old, that a camera crew visited his house in 2010 and he finally agreed to reveal the truth. What seems at first to be a giant woven brown basket is slowly unraveled to reveal one ginormous matted dread, like some furry boa constrictor. But what caused this otherwise ordinary man to grow such extraordinary hair? According to his wife Nguyen Thi Hoa, Tran decided to stop cutting or washing his hair when he fell severely ill shortly after getting his hair cut back when he was 25. Tran lived a simple life as an herbalist, but carrying all that hair around did make things a little difficult. For starters, no motorcycle taxi in the area would agree to carry him because he couldn't fit a helmet on his head. Although no officiators from the Guinness World Records ever measured his hair before he passed away in 2010, age 79, he has since been hailed as having the longest hair in the world. Some estimates suggest it was 22 feet long and weighed as much as 23 pounds. That's almost as much as an average 2-year-old toddler. I wonder if the local kids could use his hair as a skipping rope. I don't know about you guys, but I could lay on the ground watching the clouds go by for hours. But one thing we don't get to see so often is a view of the clouds from above, which makes this mesmerizing clip even more incredible. This rolling sea of clouds was filmed in Austria by German travel photographer Andre Alexander. Don't you just want to dive right in? According to research led by the American Museum of Natural History, there could be as many as 18,000 different species of bird in the world right now. It'd be pretty hard for anyone to keep track of that many winged creatures at once, which is why I'm willing to bet you've never seen one like this before. You're wondering what on earth is going on inside this little chick's mouth, right? Those bizarre markings look like the strange bird has another set of eyes located in its mouth, but you'd be surprised to learn that it's actually just a part of the natural anatomy of the crested cua chick. Crested cuas, which are native to Madagascar, are members of the cuckoo family and grow up to be very colorful greenish-gray birds with a tan-colored breast, long white-tipped purplish-blue tail feathers, and a colorful mask around the eyes. The little fella in this clip was hatched by Toledo Zoo in Ohio back in 2010. But what is the purpose of these markings? You might think they're used as a warning sign to try and scare off predators, but they actually have a far more practical use. Scientists studying the bird's behaviors have hypothesized that the markings are actually targets that help the chick's parents place food into their mouth at night. I wonder if the adult birds tweet out "bullseye" when they manage to get a tasty morsel right in the middle. What's the tastiest thing you can think of deep frying? Probably the last thing to spring to mind is plain old H2O, but that doesn't mean it can't be done. Back in 2016, innovative culinary chef Jonathan Marcus decided to step up to the plate by serving up possibly the blandest meal anyone has ever tasted: a deep fried ball of water.
Time to see what this is all about. There we have it. We just deep fried water.
Is anyone else's brain aching right now while trying to figure out how that's even possible? It all relies on a process called spherification and a gelatinous substance known as calcium alginate. This substance is comprised of calcium chloride and sodium alginate. It gives around liquids with a thin membrane, which allows the water to hold its shape and be handled like a solid. As you can see, Marcus then takes the sphere of water and dips it in flour and egg wash and then panko breadcrumbs. After dropping the ball in 375-degree peanut oil, Marcus cracks open the breadcrumb shell to reveal the successfully deep-fried water inside. But the real question is, how did it taste?
That is the blandest fried thing I've ever tasted.
That's cool.
Yeah, that was just... That's water.
As he so eloquently puts it in this clip, it tastes about as bland as you would imagine. So I think it's safe to assume that deep-fried water is in no position to become the next big snack anytime soon. But spherified water might have some other uses. In fact, the startup company Uho has been looking into using spherified water as an eco-friendly alternative to plastic water bottles. Rather than throwing the membrane away after use, you can just pop it in your mouth and eat it instead. Have you ever seen a natural pearl before? To get your hands on one, you'd have to find the perfect oyster. Or you could just go searching inside a cave instead. You heard it here first, people. Caves make pearls sometimes too. The so-called cave pearl is a small, usually spherical formation found in limestone caves. But how are they formed? It all starts when water dripping into a cave loses carbon dioxide and precipitates calcite. If the water is moving too vigorously to form a stalagmite, a nucleus of matter, like a single grain of sand, becomes coated with calcite. The current then provides a rotation to the nucleus that allows it to be evenly coated in calcite all over, almost like when you make a snowball by rolling it down a hill. Concentric layers building up over time in this way is pretty much the same way biological pearls form within a mollusk, except this time it's happening inside a cave. The Cave of Marbles in Mexico and the Rookery at Carlsbad Caverns in New Mexico are two caves that have an abundance of pearls scattered all along their flat pathways. Nowadays it's illegal to remove any items from caves, but at one point cave pearls were so plentiful at Carlsbad that they were given to guests as souvenirs. Mother Nature may be responsible for most of the world's amazing beauty, but it's easy to forget just how destructive she can be as well. Freak weather has the potential to ruin livelihoods and tear down buildings. But have you ever seen an entire chunk of road be picked up and relocated like this before? I know what you're thinking. Wile E. Coyote thinks he's slick altering the path like that, but that's still not enough to catch Roadrunner. But a cartoon coyote wasn't behind this particular bizarre happening. This incredible photograph was taken in the Bahamas and should be all the proof you need that island life isn't all cocktails and perfect sunbathing weather. In fact, this road was likely a victim of Hurricane Dorian, which was the most powerful and devastating tropical cyclone to ever hit the Bahamas back in late August to early September in 2019. Winds during the storm even peaked at a whopping 185 miles per hour. Perhaps the road had been freshly laid and didn't have a good enough adhesion before the storm hit. Either way, this is one terrifying reminder of Mother Nature's power. Remember that one scene from The Simpsons when a freaky glowing Mr. Burns alien emerges from the woods? What if I told you this could happen to you? Except you'd probably have a rainbow glow rather than a neon green one. Believe it or not, these eerie-looking figures aren't apparitions from beyond the grave or aliens beamed down from a distant planet. This is a natural phenomenon known as a Brocken spectre. The phenomenon gets its name from the Brocken, a peak in the Harz Mountains in Germany where it was first observed in 1780. Put simply, a Brocken spectre is no more than the shadow of a mountaineer projected forward through the mist. It occurs when the sun is low and shines from behind the observer, who is looking down from a ridge or peak into mist or fog ahead. The light projects their shadow through the mist, which appears to be enormously magnified because the observer has no real reference points to judge its size. The colorful bands that surround the figure like a halo are known as a glory, and result from the diffraction of the sunlight by water droplets in the cloud, a bit like how rainbows appear in the sky. Anyone who has climbed a mountain and experienced the Brocken spectre effect without waving their arms in the air and declaring "I come in peace" should be ashamed of themselves. If you've ever seen those Final Destination movies, you'll know that it can sometimes seem like life is out to get you with the most ridiculously cruel twists of fate. Of course, living life in constant fear is far from healthy, but the driver of one metro train in the Netherlands probably thought he'd been cast in the next upcoming movie when the train ran off the tracks after overrunning the stop blocks at a station outside Rotterdam on the 2nd of November 2020. Thankfully, no one was injured, thanks to one very unlikely savior, a massive plastic whale structure. That's right. After the metro driver was able to free himself without injury, the train was left balancing over 32 feet off the ground on the plastic tail of the sculpture. Martin Struijs, who created the sculpture of the two tails emerging from the water beneath the elevated metro line, said he was shocked to hear that the sculpture had held together. The artwork was erected back in 2002 by the De Akker station in Pijkenische on the outskirts of Rotterdam and was created using reinforced polymer. As you can imagine, it was nothing short of a miracle that the sculpture was able to bear the weight of an entire metro train after standing for nearly 20 years. It's not entirely clear what caused the train to run off the tracks, but it's safe to say this is just one more thing to add to the list of 2020's most ridiculous events. What do you see when you take a look at this image? Sticks of bacon? Charred watermelon radishes? Some sort of exotic root vegetable? If you answered any of the above, you'd be wrong. These forbidden snacks are actually rhodochrosite stalactites. If that means nothing to you, rhodochrosite is a manganese carbonate mineral which is famous for its unique formation in caves as stalactites and stalagmites. Because these formations could take hundreds if not thousands of years to grow, it's usually frowned upon to break them off and harvest them like this. But there's one exception. The Capelitas mining district, located in northwestern Argentina, is now used exclusively for the mining of rhodochrosite stalactites. The spectacular stalactites are formed on the cave ceiling by seasonal water flows resulting in dripping and precipitation of manganese-rich rock with concentric growth layers and vibrant shades of pink, red, and brown. The mine, which is located at an altitude of 10,000 feet, now produces around 100 to 200 tons of material each year. Once the rhodochrosite stalactites are cut and polished, they're sold worldwide for use in jewelry or to collectors. One thing's for sure, they definitely aren't edible. Which one of these amazing things made your jaw hit the floor the hardest? Let me know down in the comments. And why not check out one of the previous episodes of this series next? And don't forget, get in contact with us at clips@beamazed.com. Thanks for watching.